And we are live and we are back. Let's go. I'm Cory, your host, one half of the Quarter and Full of Fat podcast, and I am back like I never left with the first installment of Money Mindset. Yes, this is the new title. I don't know if this is a good title. Will I change this title? Probably not, because my creativity on these type of things, even though it is high, I just this is all I could think of instead of Wealth Wednesday, which all this is Wealth Wednesday, just rebranded so that I can drop this whenever I want to. Still gonna drop it on Wednesday because why not? But now whenever I need to drop an episode, I need to something that kind of fire happens. It's like let me just record today and drop it. I wasn't when I say wasn't able to, as if I dropped every Wealth Wednesday on a Wednesday because I drop sometimes on Thursday and Friday or didn't drop at all. Regardless, now I will be able to just go ahead and drop an episode. All right. Let me hold on. Give me 1 second. Oh, there we go. I was like, make sure the mic is still working. All right. So we got my Money Mindset up. This is season 1, episode 1. We're gonna keep track of it like this as well. But look, it's the same thing. You already know what to do. Comment, like, share, subscribe. I'm Jordan with the flu game right now. I ain't been sick since I got that jab from the panorama. And I'm not like sick, but I got that drainage. So I got that nasally, voice. I got the soreness. Shout out to Cam and Mace. It is what it is. I don't have to I got a sore throat. Cam and Mace make you think about everything you say now. The sore throat is pretty much gone, but now I'm still a little bit nasally. Yesterday and the day before, I was getting my ass kicked on New Year's. Regardless, we here. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Don't ask where the pinned comment is at for my information as well as my co-host Jordan information. It's in the description right now. All right. Jordan Stop Stalling J on socials. I'm silent_Cory on socials. All right. Jordan business page, FinallyFit.live, 5:30 a.m. for the Monday and Wednesday virtual training sessions. All right, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I already told y'all what I was talking about this episode. See, I'm not even like giving y'all prep. Shout out to the first time listeners because I told y'all we was gonna talk about student loans. Now I had a student loan article queued up, but it wasn't that big of a deal because I already told y'all what was gonna happen when the student loan started back up. I was like, I wonder what's gonna happen. It's probably gonna be mayhem, aka chaos. Yes, it was mayhem and chaos. So I mean, I'm glad they did an article on me saying what was already gonna happen. However, right before the new year, some information came out about how many people made their payments, or should I say, lack thereof, from a payment standpoint. So we're gonna get into the payments today, all right, y'all. And we're gonna get into the chaos situation, break it down as far as what happened when the student loans started back up. But before we get started, this is your first time listening. You don't know what I'm about to say, but if it's not, you already know what I'm about to say. Don't sue me, sue your mama. This is for entertainment purposes only. Myself, no Jordan, our finance or fitness professionals. Anything you hear on here is for entertainment purposes only, and you need to seek a professional out and do your own research before taking any action. All right, y'all, let's get started. Student loans, is this my favorite topic? Probably because I've done the longest episode between, myself and Jordan, the student loan episode, the live stream last year, going into 2023 at the end of 2022 was the longest episode we've ever recorded between the both of us. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. First, we're gonna go to Old Faithful, CNBC, and talk about what happened when the student loan started back up. Yes, if you didn't know, it wasn't going to start back up smoothly, but hey, let's get some data. Let's get an article more reputable than myself. Even though I would say I'm pretty reputable now with the internet timestamp. Shout out to Gary Vee. All right, inaccurate bills, hours on the phone, student loan borrowers re-enter a very messy system. I can't wait to see what kind of data we see. I know some people got bills that were like almost for their whole damn balance. Like it was bad. This is by Annie Nova and Jared Mitovich. All right, and so again, this is earlier in 2023, so October 22nd. All right, Biden administration restarted student loan bills for 40 million Americans this month. I wouldn't just put it on the Biden administration per se. Right here, where I go already critiquing the article. The Trump administration put the student loans in forbearance, the pandemic type of forbearance, and then the Biden administration inherited it, so they could either continue extending the forbearance, which they did not put in place, or they could put it back on. Excuse me for the podcast listeners. I'm taking more breaks than normal. Again, I'm not under the. I guess I'm like right under the weather, but I stay hydrated. I keep drinking. All right. So far, the transition is proving painful for many borrowers. Oh, I wonder if somebody could have said, "Hey, when these student loans kick back on, it's going to be a mess." Oh, wait. I already said that. Here we go. Look at Vice President Harris, and that's I can't remember his name, but he's Secretary of Education. Oh, here we go. His name here, Miguel Cardona. I knew it was a Hispanic name, but I didn't want to say that, and then it wasn't, because then I'd look bad on the internet forever. All right, Amberly let's just go with Amberly McGahee. A librarian in Pennsylvania was not worried about the restart of student loan payments. I don't know why. Oh, okay. I told you I don't read this article ahead of time. She was, because she was done with her debt. Oh, no. Or she thought she was. Oh, no. Yes, and for those who never listened before, I do not read these articles ahead of time. As you can see, in August, she applied. Why would you apply for the public student loan forgiveness with her loan? Okay, she applied with MOHELA. MOHELA not going to forgive you a loan. They the one who went to court saying, hey, we can't have this done. Even though they didn't go to court. But, that district, whatever that district is that they're in, I think it's 4. Or they're in 6. I don't know. Whatever district they're in, that the state of Missouri is in, they're the ones who really got this kicked up at the federal level to the Supreme Court. The PSFL program, all right, it allows you to get forgiveness after 120 payments, aka 10 years, at least 10 years. Okay, Amberly thought that was going to happen. Her information was reviewed by CNBC, and it shows that she made 125 qualifying payments. Who cares if you think how many qualifying payments you made? When you apply for this forgiveness, the public student loan forgiveness, and you don't get it, it doesn't matter at all. They don't give a damn how many qualifying payments you made. Who cares if you made 125? They still didn't forgive your stuff. She got sent a bill for $625 due on October 7th. Good God. The payment started back up October 1st. They said in 6 days, we need almost $700 from you, Amberly. I panicked. She's 36 years old. So that means she's roughly been paying these student loans since she was 26. She made 125 payments since she was 26. And that roughly shakes out because being she's a librarian, she might have went and got her master's. Why do you need to get a master's to be a librarian? I don't know. I thought they might teach people this anymore. But when I was growing up in school, not that I'm old, right? I'm 30, but I'll be 31 this year, but I'm a 90s baby. When we went to the library, they showed us how to find books. Now, I'm not saying librarians don't do a whole bunch of stuff, but what do they do to require you to get a master's? And that's really the conversation. Look, we're talking about student loans. Can I actually get through an article when we talk about student loans? We need to, regardless of pricing, right? It is what it is. At the end of the day, the colleges do not force people to go to college, right? They can set their price, whatever they want to be. There's a reason that private institutions usually cost the most, because they're private and not publicly funded. And hey, you want to set that price, you want to set that price. You don't have to pay for a Honda Accord. You don't have to pay for Mercedes-Benz. You can get a Honda Accord. And not to mention, in the student loan episode that I did, I showed that tuition, which is all you have to pay, and some other fees, but tuition, which is what you pay to actually get your degree, room and board, meal plan, things like that. You do not need to pay those things to get your degree. Tuition still does not cost that much. You can get a college degree for under $50,000 and probably under $40,000, maybe even under 20 if you choose to go to community college route and then transfer to a 4-year degree with all your credits from the community college. College is probably still on a tuition basis less than $30,000 at your state school. And considering, I believe only North Dakota and South Dakota, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island, I believe those are only the handful of states whose state school is not D1 single A. It's not, the big, large school. Maryland, the schools, University of Maryland, all the state schools are named after the state, as you can imagine, but Utah, Pac-12, I believe they're still in the Pac-12. I don't know, they keep doing all this, changing all the schools around for their conferences, but Hawaii and maybe Alaska. I don't know if Alaska has a state school, but if you think about the state that you live in, you likely have a pretty large state school. If it's not, it's probably the biggest school in the state you live in. University of Georgia, University of Alabama. Shout out to what Georgia did to Florida State. Florida, not Florida State, right? Some states even have multiple, quote unquote state schools, but some of them have higher tuition, right? University of, Mississippi, Ole Miss, Virginia, West Virginia. Like they're all just name, just say whatever state you're in. And it's likely that school, when you look at that tuition, is probably going to run you max anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 a semester, which is going to be from $10,000 to $16,000 a year. And again, if you take the community college route and then switch over and just go there for 2 years, told you I was sick. If you just go there for 2 years instead of the 4 year, you cut not that price in half, but you cut it probably close to 30% at least because of how cheap community college is. Where community college, you're just paying for the classes. Do the same thing when you go to a 4-year university and get your 4-year degree. All right, now situation you go get your master's and or doctorate. Look, please be in a degree field where you actually need it. If you're not going to be a doctor or a lawyer, you're hard pressed to say that you need to go get your master's. Shout out to getting a master's in early education. Why do you need so much knowledge to teach small children? Right? It's different if you're going to be like a psychologist, but you're not. You're just a teacher or a principal. Like, why do you need all this education to be an elementary school principal? What are you doing? The people here can barely read and write. You just really need to make sure nobody hurts themselves. But hey, I don't have that level of education. So as a master, I got my bachelor's. But speaking from what you need to know to work in a school, but I went to school. I went to college as well, right? And I'm like, my goodness, you know how much? And then the amount of debt you take out for versus how much money you can make. Principals can't make a lot of money, but it's in general. Even if you become a teacher, it's like, how much did you pay for this? To not make a lot of money, right? On the back end, teachers are in a position where they work for the state so they can get this PSLF. But as we can see, back to Amber Lee here, who was a librarian, again, worked for the state. She didn't get that money. She said she couldn't afford it. Now, the question is not whether or not she could or could not afford it. The question is, before your student loans went in forbearance, what was your student loan payment / were you making it? That should be the question. I don't care if you can afford it now, because if it's more than what it previously was, and that makes sense. All right. And then it wasn't the last time as well you applied for your that you made a payment. Okay, she contacted MOHELA. Yeah, she couldn't get anyone on the phone because MOHELA is a mess right now. All of my wait. Jesus. Shout out to Jesus. All of her wait times were 100 minutes. Well, you at the library, so never mind. What's really going on there? She said, I tried sending email messages and they went unanswered, but they did. Okay, Biden administration. Okay, they started student loans. Cool. March. Okay, we talked about that. And I'm trying to get better, y'all, skimming through stuff. Still got the janky ass mouse. We're going to get a new mouse this year. When this year? I don't know. But we're going to get a new mouse. So far, the transition back to payments has proven painful, as Cory stated on the Cory and Flip Back podcast. For many borrowers who complain of long wait times, they shouldn't need a wait time. They should have started their repayment smoothly, right? If everybody's calling in at MOHELA, essentially, because I believe MOHELA, nobody, a client who has student loans at MOHELA, I believe MOHELA completely dropped the ball on this. Errors with their bills, lost account information, and deny relief for which they believe they were eligible. Look, we keep telling y'all about applying for this relief. Issues can have devastating impacts on household finances. Consumer advocates say, what? Let's be clear. If your payment was less than or equal to what it was before this forbearance, you shouldn't have any issue. I mean, the fact that you can't make your payment, I guess, puts you in a better situation. And obviously, they're going to fix this. When does it get fixed? I don't know. Excuse me, but yeah. Being forced to make incorrect monthly payments places additional strain on borrowers' monthly finances and puts some in a position of being unable to keep up with their other bills. Yeah, if you're in a situation where you got a bill, your statement was for your monthly payment was more than what it should be. The question is, could you have paid off your debt before they started back up? Because you had what? Was it 42 months? What's March to August? That's 8. That's 44. Yeah, 44 months. You had almost a year. You had almost 3.5 years. You did have 3.5 years. Yeah, March started back up in October. So it's March 2020 to September of 2023. No payments at all. So yes, you had, so that's 6. Yeah, so you had 42. You had 3.5 years of no payments. Now let's be clear. 42 is almost 60. Right, it's pretty close. Another 18 months. 60 is half of what you need for the public student loan forgiveness, even though people aren't getting it. But it's like, my goodness. Outstanding education debt, okay, 1.7 trillion. Average loan balance at graduation has tripled since the 90s, 30,000 from 10,000. Now the question is, have incomes tripled? All right, anyways, around 7% of student loan borrowers are now more than $100,000 in debt. See, only 7%. So then we hear people complain about, then what people are going to say is, well, of that demographic, of that 7%, what's the demographic, right? So are certain people overexposed to this 100K? Some people were saying that for the up to 20K in forgiveness, there was a certain demographic, I believe it was white men, that were overexposed in that 40%. So it's like, does the degree you got pay you how much money you took out for it in less than 5 years? If not, do not get that degree. Changes add uncertainty for service. Okay. Carlina Rodriguez, director of the Education and Debt Consumer Assistance Program, nonprofit in New York, says she's never seen this kind of chaos in the student loan space before. I said Carolina Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez, I could have, look, services are having a very hard time getting people back into repayment, Rodriguez said. I bet they did. People haven't had to make payments for 42 straight months. What did you think was going to happen? It's going to flip a switch? People have moved, and I don't know if we'll see this, but how did their loans just restart? I mean, it was based off the old balance, the new balance. They haven't had to make this payment. Like, do they get a new interest rate? Like, all these different type of things. People might have refinanced to a new company. Like, there's all these different type of things. People got moved to a different loan service provider. All this information flowing. Then you just got to turn it right back on. Come on now. And the Commerce of Times federal student loan system is famously complicated, right? There are some 12 plans for repaying your student loans, a web of forgiveness options, and a soup of wonky terms such as forbearance and deferment. This is what you need to do if you have student loans and you no longer want to have student loans. You pay them off. In a conversation, I could just not talk about student loans anymore, but people don't want to pay off their student loans. They want somebody else to do it for them, and look what happens. This is a loan service provider, by the way. This is a person with your information. And if they can't, if MOHELA is struggling to just start repayments back, which is, by the way, as someone who holds, debt, particularly student loan debt, you would think making it so that people can pay you back along with interest would be something you know how to do. And y'all want to make sure they keep track of your forgiveness payments, please. Your qualifying payments, as they say. Excuse me. Student loan debt, again, 1.8 trillion almost. Okay, there's talking about changes to the lending system. Government has made all types of announcements. And it's confusing people. I bet it is. Yeah, okay, the 20,000 forgiveness, that didn't occur. Okay, 2024 campaigns. This is going to be another talking point for President Biden when he runs. 12-month on-ramp. Yes, all these various things that they're doing to help you get your student loans back in some type of good standing or get your payments restored. All these different things they do to make sure you don't pay off your student loan debt. I believe one of my clients, their student loan payment, they have less than 20,000. I think their payment on the income-based repayment plan is like $5. $5. Let's just say it's 10,000. Let's just say it's 10,000 and no interest. That 2,000. So if they pay $5 on 10,000 a month into 10,000, it's going to take them 2,000 months, which is 100. Let me make sure I did this math right. Okay, that's 2,000 months and divide by 12. It's going to take them 166 years. How many months is that? It's going to take them. So you're going to die with the debt. By the way, when you die with the debt does go away. So they are going to make sure you don't have the debt anymore. You just got to die for. Now, if you got some money, I believe even with student loans, they're going to take what they can out of your assets. And then if there's still something left over from a debt standpoint, then that gets forgiven. All right. Flawed data affects save applicants. Yeah, borrowers have had trouble benefiting from this new repayment option called saving on a valuable education. Rodriguez said many borrowers are getting billed for different amounts than they expected. Here we go. She says she worked with a borrower who anticipated a monthly payment of $400, then got a bill for $2,000. Unreal. 5 times? 5 times is crazy. Hey, you're not saving that $1,600. They want that money. And let's be clear, you probably need to put the $2,000 towards your student loans so you can pay it off. Like this $400 is probably still going to put you in negative amortization or negative AM loan to where the payment you're making / your minimum payment doesn't even satisfy the interest, and therefore You make your payment, there's still interest sitting there along with the principal. You never pay any money towards the principal. And then when you get charged interest again, the interest accrues interest and then the principal as well, which in short is how compound interest is calculated. And in short, now you got compound interest working against you. So when you hear people talk about compound interest, investing, retirement accounts, taxable brokers, whatever it is, stock market, that compound interest that they're talking about that helps you build wealth, that is the same math, the same compound interest that is working against you when it comes to your student loans or any loan. If you are not making enough to satisfy the interest or there's interest outstanding, however you want to look at it. Some of you went deferment. It's now you got interest sitting there, which is one of the worst things you can do with student loans. I don't know all the worst things you can do, but you put it in deferment. Now you just got, hey, you don't have to make this payment. You're not penalized, quote unquote, for not making the payment, but you are penalized. You have all this interest that's accruing. Then you really look at your balance. You're like, dang, I got more interest than I did when I started, and I got more interest than principal. And it's like, well, what'd you do? So I had a deferment for like 1,000 years. It's like, well, that's why it's gonna take 1,000 years to pay it off. All right. Problems with the SAVE plan. Hundreds of thousands of borrowers affected are due to flawed data provided by the education department. Here's one of the issues. For the forgiveness, the education department, this is kicking my ass. The education department, I believe they were the ones that were going to execute the forgiveness. And so if you already had something set up with them, you didn't have to submit the information. When we talk about something like when we got the stimulus checks, when President Biden was, who did his, and when President Trump was in office, those were just sent to you. Most people didn't have to do anything. It's because the Department of Treasury sent those out. And the Department of Treasury is over the IRS, and the IRS, that's pretty much everyone's information, assuming you're not, doing tax avoidance. And so, tax evasion. You can do tax avoidance, not tax evasion. I told you I'm getting tired. As long as you're not doing tax evasion. Saying all that to say, the information that the education department has on a financial standpoint or accuracy of it is not the level that the Treasury has. So why would we think the education department was going to have enough information on people where they currently live at? Things of that nature. Education department might have your parents' address. Depending on when, you apply for the student loan, technically, when you live with your parents, it's been 10, 15. This person is 36. Might be 10, 15 years since you updated your address. Whatever. But at what point do you start to question the Biden administration is still contracting with MOHELA services who have financial incentives to do the wrong things? Yeah, in the student loan program, as Dave Ramsey says all the time, cognitive dissonance. Can't keep making student loans because even forgiving the problem just resurface. Another issue is that some of the plan's features, including the most beneficial one to borrowers, a drop in payments by almost half, won't be available today. So even though they dropped this plan, excuse my voice, Christ, even though they dropped this plan, you gotta wait till the summer to get your payment cut in half. So hey, if they cut this 2,000 in half, at least it's 1,000. Nah, it's supposed to be 200 for you because your payment's supposed to be 400 regardless, right? Many borrowers didn't realize this expert said because many borrowers aren't tuning in and checking in with people who are well versed in the situation to actually see what stuff is about. They hear, oh, hey, we got this thing coming in. It's going to help you. You didn't ask them, hey, when is it going to help you? That's why I say poor people ask how much as far as the payment, and rich people ask, what the total cost of it is. It's like, y'all don't even check in. You wonder why you have student loan debt. It's one thing to be well versed in this information as far as student loans, how to get the forgiveness, and say you still want it. Cool. It's another thing saying, hey, I need help. But then when they say, hey, we're giving you help, you don't even know what the help is. People are not ready for this conversation. If you're someone who wanted help and you want this feature, this feature from the SAVE plan, getting your payment cut in half, it's on you if you didn't know that was not going to take effect until summer 2024. And this is the one thing I always want to say about student loans. These people are not uneducated. These people should be some of the smartest people ever. They have a college education during this time period, during the modern day. I mean, my goodness, you got a master's in your doctorate. You tell me you didn't read the SAVE plan and realize that the half payment didn't start until summer 2024. Are you telling me you have a college degree and you want us to believe that you can't read? Maybe in America, shout out to literacy right here. But this is the lack of, for better words, holding people's feet to the fire. Why do we give people, and everyone who has student loan debt doesn't have a degree, but why are we giving people who at least went to college, and the majority of these people who are talking about their student loan debt complaining want the forgiveness have a degree or might even have multiple degrees? Why do we get them a pass on lack of comprehension, the inability to understand data statistics from a public student loan forgiveness standpoint, where you have not even a 5% chance to get it? The pass that we give people with student loan debt who have a college education is unreal. It's insane. It's literally insane. Department is working closely with student loan service to ensure that they are doing something. They're trying to get it fixed. Yeah, this is October. For safe payment plan issues, the department directed services to notify affected borrowers and put them into an administrative forbearance. So this happened to my clients. Usually got put into this situation. Just got, all right, you're back in forbearance again, until they were able to calculate the correct payment amount. What does this mean? Why didn't you have it calculated? See, MOHELA, they ass was too busy. Well, they weren't in court, but they was too busy trying to make sure the whole forgiveness didn't occur. Now, when it's time for the forgiveness not to occur and these payments start back up, they messing up. Who is this? Who is Sarah Clough? Oh, here we go. Still some borrowers. Told you I don't read these articles ahead of time. They're struggling to even access a new option. Early October, Sarah tried to contact her student loan service to Nelnet to apply for the SAVE plan under the program. Borrowers' payments are calculated based on their household size and income. And Clough had a number of questions. She recently got married and is now pregnant. She want to know if the baby counts, even though she's pregnant. What's your view on pro-life versus pro-choice, man? Joke. Anyways, her original bill is $483. That's about the average. Average is like 300 something. That was due on October 20. She said that wasn't affordable to her. See, this is what I hate about these articles. What was her payment depending on she's 28, so yeah, so she likely, because she's 28 now, so I mean 3 years ago before the pandemic, almost 4 years now, because 2024. She likely had graduated college already. She went right after high school and graduated, 4 years, 5 years. But if we're saying that it's $483 that was due in October, what was it before? What was your old payment? What was your old payment? And were you in deferment even though your old payment was less than or equal to this amount? Because obviously this is higher than her last payment. She wasn't making the payment, and obviously this new one. That's more expensive than our car payment. Why do you have a car? Too much debt. How many car payments you got, Sarah? Anyways, she was on hold for 2.5 hours. My wife tried to call the VA. She called earlier. She's talking about she was number 30-something in line. So you just wait. She called again. She was like 20-something, but it was moving way faster. Anyways, by the way, when my wife got through to the VA, they still said they had an issue with their system. What? She was on hold for 2.5 hours with Nelnet and then was disconnected before she could speak. That's why my wife. Shout out to the federal government. Before she could speak with a representative, she said she called back and was on hold for an hour. She called back again. Communication is very lack. Hey, you're pregnant, Sarah. This stress might not be good for you right now. I mean, stress is not good for pregnant women, but hey, you might want to just hold off on this. Communication is very lacking. She said, as you can imagine, our message system, servicers face challenges going into a repayment surge. Right, because everybody's student loans just went on pause, and now everybody's student loans got to start back up. Right, exactly. The changes in the space over the last 3 years that servicers are dealing with. They didn't have to make payments for 3 years, or then they weren't servicing anybody essentially for 3 years. Now all of a sudden you got all these changes when it surrounds student loans, and they got an influx of issues, and issues just being things they have to deal with, not good or bad. 60 million borrowers roughly were transferred. This is insanity. How many people have student loans? Oh my God. It's almost 45 million people have student loans. So over a third of people had got a new servicer during the pandemic. That is unreal. That's insane. Insane. That over a third of people who had student loans got a new servicer. Right. Like several servicers dropped out of business, probably because they wasn't getting no payments. They living off that interest. As I said, yes, it was less profitable because they weren't making any payments. Okay, letter went out in September. Okay, Senator Elizabeth Warren, deeply worried about your preparing. Why wouldn't they? You guys kept saying it's going to get pushback, not pushback. I mean, all these different pushbacks. All right, in January, NoNet made deep cuts. Oh no, they made deep cuts to his staff. Cool. These reductions would significantly impact our ability to rapidly ramp back up for return to payment. Here's where I'm confused. I'm not confused on the fact that it'd be an issue to restart, but wouldn't they have? I mean, was it end of 2021? Well, I don't believe it was the end of 2020 when the first extension happened. It might have been, but whenever the first extension happened, why weren't they prepared then? I know the first extension wasn't announced in 2022. Okay. So that means it happened sometime in 2021 because Trump had an extension and he wasn't in office then. President Trump did an extension. So they essentially had all of 2022 and damn near all of 2023 because the payments didn't restart until October of 2023. Almost 2 years to prepare for this restart. And we had what, 4 or 5 different pump fakes as far as, yeah, we're about to restart, in a couple of days. Yeah, we're about to restart. And still not ready. And then y'all want to hope these people keep track of your ability to no longer generate money for them. Remember, when you get your student loans forgiven, they're not seeing in this money no more. It gets wiped off the books. I believe these servers aren't seeing any money because now it's taxpayers have to put that. Or maybe are they seeing the money, but they still want that interest. They still want your student loans on the hook for the life of the loan. Then on top of that, considering the fact that some of y'all are gonna never pay these jokers off, they get that interest indefinitely. Okay, though we were attempting to rehire many of the customer service agents whose employment were. Now they're talking about they fire people and try to get them back. What? They will not be able to hire the staff needed for the repayment surge. Oh my goodness. Servicers have indeed been given a hard task. Still the long wait times. Okay, long wait times. Oh, all my wait times are over 100 minutes. Yeah, you got 16 million people calling. How many people have an account at NoNet? Let me see this. How many student loans does NoNet service? Talking about $4 billion, not give me a number on how many actually people. Regardless, my guess is they're somewhere in the millions. I know for 100,000 for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're somewhere in the millions. Definitely MOHELA is. Wish they could chalk it up in incompetence. But at what point do you start a question? Okay, Biden administration. Okay, Jane Fox Legal Aid Society. Chapter chair of the Association of Legal Aid Attorneys in New York said the main issue with the federal student loan system is that servicers are paid a fee per borrower, which leaves them little incentive to resolve the issues or deliver on promised debt relief. They're not interested in getting you forgiven sooner. If they're not interested in you getting forgiven sooner, then why would they make sure that your qualified payments that they're tracking for you are actually qualified? Remember, the federal government is the one who does this forgiveness. So they are the one who says whether or not you made a qualifying payment, not your servicer. Does that make sense? If you can go to a .gov and see what your qualifying payments are, I wouldn't trust it. All right, here we go. Okay, some Buchanan. Okay, blamed many of the current issues of the servicers on the funding limitations of the government. What? We look forward to being able to add additional resources whenever the government chooses to invest more in customer service for their borrowers. Yeah, so there only needs to be but so much invested in customer service. Put it like this. Instead of investing more money into customer service from the government side, why don't they just put that towards the student loans? Okay, this restart could leave lasting financial scars. Partly in anticipation of these issues, the Biden administration promised federal student loan borrowers that they'll be spared most, not all, most of the penalties of missed or late payments until September 30th, 20. Good God. A whole year through its 12-month on-ramp, right? Yet it is uncertain if borrowers are even able to rely on this relief. What? Okay, they're talking about people on properly trained. I wonder if these people have degrees. Do the people who are customer service for these student loan companies, do they also have student loans as well? Or if you go and work for the student loan company and your student loan is with them, should they forgive your student loan? Or should they just not pay you until your student loan is repaid? You work for free for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. These customer service reps are making a lot. If they can reach the customer, the servicer to begin with, they don't know about the on-ramp, okay? Meanwhile, this is back to Amber Lee, the librarian, tries to get the student loan forgiveness to which she's entitled. Her account, now entitled is a bad word. Her account is showing up as past due. I bet it is. They said we need this money and you ain't paying it to us. During her calls to MOHELA, they warn her that they're trying to collect the debt. Yeah, I know I have debt with you. What? This is especially worrying to her because she's currently trying to assume the mortgage on her house after a divorce. Oh, Lord. Now we get into you get divorced and now you're trying to pay for the mortgage after you get divorced. You might need to sell that. How much you got? How much equity y'all think? If she's assuming the mortgage for after, this says after divorce, it sounds like the house might be hers now. And since she didn't sell it, she might not have to divvy up some equity. Or she might have to pay buy him out. Regardless, how much equity y'all think she got in the house? Y'all think it's enough to pay off her student loans? And since her student loans are put her in a worse financial situation, never mind. She might need to sell the house. My credit is good, and I don't want a negative mark. Oh, Lord. How much are you going to keep taking out? That's it? Shout out to Amber Lee. My credit is good. I don't want a negative remark. Oh, my goodness. All right, y'all. Let's get into how many people, Amber Lee, I guess, isn't one of these people, neither is Sarah, actually made their student loan payment. Here we go. Now we're going to CNN. And we got What Matters. Wait, hold on. Oh, my bad. Oh, no. I'm like, what is this? Oh, thank you. There we go. I'm like, yo, where's it at? God dang ads. Nearly 9 million student loan borrowers missed their first payment after pandemic pause ended. I want to be clear. It's almost 20%. It is 20%. It's 45 million people, roughly, with student loans. 9 million, yeah, it's 20%, roughly. This is by Katie Lebosco. We should wrap this up pretty quickly. It's a three-minute read, but hey, we're talking about student loans. Y'all know me. Nearly 9 million people missed their first student loan payment after pandemic-related pause ended this fall. That means roughly 40% of the 22 million borrowers who had bills due in October did not. So out of all the borrowers, it's around 20%. But we're talking about 40% of the people who had a bill due in October. They didn't make payments by mid-November, so 45 days late, roughly, depending on when their payment was due. Could just be a day late, a couple of days late. Bringing so many borrowers back into repayment at the same time was expected to be a challenge. New data is the first glimpse to how many people may be struggling to afford their student loan bills after their 3+ year freeze. Again, I talked about I believe it was a white paper, but the article or the information that is out there saying when student loans are put into this forbearance due to the panorama, people went and took out more debt. They didn't use that payment to put themselves in a better situation financially. They went and took out more debt. All right. For comparison, fewer than 26 of borrowers missed their payment in October 2019 before the pause went into effect. But borrowers who miss payments through September 2024 won't face significant. See, here's the issue. What do you mean won't face? I don't want to face anything at all if the reason me paying you is messed up is due to you and your lack of ability to figure out how I'm supposed to pay you. I don't want to face any penalties. They won't face significant penalties. In fact, I got to face the penalty at all and I ain't do anything. Shout out to sports. If I ain't do nothing, why are we getting penalized? Thanks to imagine in sports, you get a penalty, they say, oh, you didn't do nothing, but we still gonna penalize you. What? Thanks to an on-ramp period. Okay, the on-ramp period. This on-ramp period is because of this issue. During that period, borrowers won't be reported as delinquent or in default to the 3 national credit bureaus. At least, do these people really need good credit? Because the one thing about credit, as far as your credit score is, it's your utilization. You don't have utilization rate on your student loans, but for your utilization score to get as much as you want for it to impact your credit score, you need to pay it down. You need to have less debt. You don't need to have anything on your revolving debt, whether it be credit cards, lines of credit, whatever it is. So these people, they don't know about that when it comes to their student loans. Well, most borrowers have already made their first payment. Others will need more time, right? 60% made their payment, right? Some are confused or overwhelmed about their options. Undersecretary of Education, this needs to be a specific. Undersecretary James Cavall wrote in a big blog post. Oh, this says Undersecretary of Education. I guess the second in command, like Vice President. Mr. James Cavall is doing a blog post explaining Friday the new repayment figures. It may take some time for borrowers to figure out how much they owe. Why is that going to take time? You're supposed to be told that by your servicer. If I owe you money, why does it take time for you to tell me how much I owe? It may take time for some borrowers to figure out how much they owe each month and how to fit that payment back into their budget after the long pause. No, it should not. They've been on a budget the last 42 flipping months. They should be pretty damn good at it. Some may want to enroll in a different repayment plan to reflect possible changes to their financial situation. Okay. Shout out to Jane Doe. This is why she got out of all the license. That's the Maryland license for y'all don't know. Millions of borrowers have a different student loan servicer than they did before. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, the errors, which we talked about as well. Affected borrowers are not required to make the October payment because when error could get detected again. So essentially, this is saying what the total amount of people in the October article that we just went over on CNBC, how many people were actually impacted by that. So we're talking about 16 million people got a new servicer. Then 9 million people didn't make their payment. We're talking about over half the people possibly that got a new service provider didn't make their payment at all. Okay, MOHELA, here we go. I look for a number. Oh, I didn't mean to click on that. Oh, let me get it back, y'all. My apologies. Here we go. They're saying for MOHELA, they failed to send 2.5 million borrowers their bills on time. 2.5 million is insane. These borrowers were placed in forbearance, and the government withheld 7.2 million from MOHELA as punishment. They didn't punish MOHELA when it came to forgiving all these student loans. They helped them out there. Additionally, the Supreme Court, though, estimated 305,000 people initially. So MOHELA went over 25% of the people. 305,000 people initially received federal student loan bills with the wrong amount. My goodness. Many were charges higher than they should be when payments resumed. Those errors were not specific to a certain student loan service. Okay, so everybody's dealt with that issue as far as higher payments than what they should be. There are millions of borrowers who have had their federal student loan debt wiped away since the payment pause went into effect in 2020. Yeah, so the Biden administration has been forgiving a lot of people, but again, we're talking about 132 billion, we're saying here, versus almost 2 trillion. Okay, so nothing. All right. Talking about the promise that was made. Cool. Cancellations have come through. There are programs that make cancellations. Public sector workers, people defrauded by, for-profit people. Shout out to ICDC. Was that one of the people? If they weren't, my bad. Don't sue me, sue your mama. Furthermore, the Biden administration launched a new student loan repayment plan to make it easier for borrowers to return to payment. We don't want to make it easier for borrowers to return to payment. We want to make it easier for borrowers to pay off their student loans themselves, because that's what needs to happen. This is why I don't like owing debt. I don't have time for you to mess up how much I owe. Then I got to get into some forbearance, need the government step in, I got to sue. All these various things. I don't want to owe anybody any money besides, the utility company. That's because I can't pay them ahead of time. When they tell me how much I owe them when it's due, they get that and it's on automatic anyway. So they can, when it's due, it's due. But my goodness, income-driven repayment plan, known as the worst thing, known as SAVE, one of the income-driven repayment plans, is likely the most generous payment option for low-income borrowers. Here's the thing. At what point in time do people with a college degree need to no longer fall into the low-income borrowers because they're in a degree field or have a degree, and thus that field, when they actually enter the job market, is a low-income earning field? At what point in time are we going to say, maybe outside of teachers? And people believe teachers should get paid more, but they get paid via our taxes. That's the other conversation. But let's just exclude teachers. Why do college degrees lead to low-income fields? Shout out to our social workers. Got to get a master's for that. Why are we having that conversation? Why are these people with degrees in low-income earning fields? It allows them to make smaller monthly payments. It's going to put them in a negative AM loan, which means they're probably never going to pay off this damn loan. They're going to keep complaining about the forgiveness. But hey, you remain in good standing so your credit does not get destroyed. But then you're going to complain about how, hey, you got a delay in starting a family or getting married or can't get a house, all these other things because you got this debt. Then when I say, hey, why don't you pay the debt off? You don't want to pay the debt off. Well, if you're not going to pay off your student loans, why would I believe you're going to pay off your mortgage? Oh, okay. Y'all do know if you die with debt, not all, but not everybody, but it's more likely than not that any assets that you have, those are going to be paid first before your family gets it. First, they got to pay off your debtors. And if you got a negative net worth, so you have more in debt than you do in assets, whoever you have set up to inherit your assets or your estate, they're not going to see any of that. If you die with debt and you have money, any type of money, that money got to go to the debtors. You got $500,000 in total debt. You got $100,000 in assets. Your children don't get to see that $100K. Whoever that debtor is, or debtors that can be satisfied with $100,000, $100,000. $100K is right. $100,000, $100K. Anyways, plus unpaid interest does not accrue. Ooh. And that's what they like. No unpaid interest, which is one of the changes I was saying that people should fight for is don't get the forgiveness. The forgiveness was the 42 months of no payments, no penalties for not making a payment, no interest. That was the forgiveness, 42 months of that consecutively. But if you really want to be able to make some progress, the primary thing that people should be asking for who want this forgiveness, instead of forgiveness, say, hey, no more interest. No more interest. And then if you do want to fight for forgiveness, the second thing, the primary thing you fight for is no more interest on student loans. So we can get out of a negative AM loan and I can see when I'm going to pay this off. The second thing you should fight for, and this will go in tandem with the first thing as far as no interest, is whatever I graduated with. If I graduated with $50K, if I've already paid back $50,000, get that forgiven. And then if I haven't paid $50,000 back yet, once I hit that mark, say I'm at 40K, regardless of how much I owe left in principal and interest on my total balance, once I pay back $50,000, I'm good. Those would be the two things that you should be fighting for if you actually want this forgiveness, quote unquote. Not for it all to get wiped away, but for people who are in an unfortunate situation where, hey, they're in a negative AM loan and they've paid back more than they graduated with, or they've been making the minimum payment as hundreds of dollars, but still since negative AM, they haven't made a dent, a single penny towards the principal. There has to be some type of relief to them as far as that's what you should be wanting and fighting for. Not that, hey, just get it all forgiven. Because some of y'all, again, there are some people in this situation where they haven't paid any money towards their student loans. And by getting no interest and, hey, I just pay back what I graduated with, that puts the people who haven't made any payments towards the student loan saying, hey, you thought you're not going to pay this at all? You haven't made a single penny as far as the payment towards your student loans. You got to pay at least what, you took out in debt. Your school costs $50K. You got to at least pay the $50K. We're not going to make you pay the interest back. That puts the people who have paid more than what they graduated with or are going to, puts them in a good situation as far as holding them accountable, and they're still going to pay for what they graduated with. And then holds the people who have not paid any money towards the student loans at all, holds them accountable. Like, look, you just got to pay off what you graduated with. No interest, but my God, you was trying to not pay no money. Nah, you got a college degree. You can't be this dumb. Anyways, unpaid interest on the SAVE plan. If a borrower makes a full payment monthly, no unpaid interest accrues on the SAVE plan if a borrower makes a full monthly payment. That means a borrower's balance won't increase even if the monthly payment doesn't cover the interest accumulated. So the interest is still going to accumulate. All right. Well, they're saying it doesn't accrue, but to my knowledge, it still does accrue. Right. So this is saying if you're in a negative AM loan, so let's say interest was $100, you made a $50 payment. So you made $50 to the payment, interest always gets satisfied first. And so there technically be $50 in interest still sitting there. And say you got a $10,000 principal balance. You took out $10,000 in student loans. With a SAVE plan, that $50 that's left in interest, that's just not going to be there. And you're still going to have $10,000 in principal. So you're still not going to put any money towards the principal. You're still not doing it. So they're saying, hey, you're still going to have the student loan debt. My goodness. All right, and that's it, y'all. All right, locked and loaded. End of the okay, good. We coming in under an hour. Bless the Lord. Look, Jordan flu game. Let me sip my water real quick. As we wrap up, I want to be very, very clear. Pay off your freaking student loans. This is a mess. I told you I was going to be a mess. Now we get a year for this on-ramp stuff. Now people are in a situation with the SAVE plan where, hey, even if there's outstanding interest, if you make your payment, that interest is going to go away. And you notice how they didn't say, but your principal is still going to be what it's going to be, meaning you're actually not going to pay down your loan. We talk about this public student loan forgiveness. Amber Lee had 125 qualifying payments, still didn't get it, still got sent a bill. All these various things. At some point in time, you have to make a decision to take control of your life. If you choose not to do that, I prefer the explanation of why we need to pay in taxes and have our elected officials deal with the situation. Now, people who went for like for-profits and essentially they were scammed, that's one thing. And you can say the whole student loan situation is a scam. Okay, cool, right? I'm not gonna fight with you, but so much on that. But at some point in time, I've already said this before. Shout out to my soundboard that I don't have. I've already said this before. People who have student loans attended some college and or graduated. Why do we continue? What makes us continue? How do we continue? When did we start continuing? Where do we get off by continuing? How are we continuing? Who, what, where, when, why, and how? I think I did the 5 W's and H. If I didn't. Whose dog is this? Who are these niggas? Who is continuing to let people who went to college and graduated from college with at least 1 degree, and if not 2 or more, master's and or doctorate, get away with this ignorance, incompetence? And again, for me, if we were going to do a flat out forgiveness, one, I'm pro doctors and lawyers. Doctors and lawyers, actually, no, excuse me, doctors. Not people who have a doctorate. I'm talking about MDs, the people who are actually medical professionals. If you are a brain surgeon, I don't want you to be stressed out about your student loan debt. I have no issue paying more in taxes, so you are not stressed out about finances. And your finances probably might be stressing you out from a marriage standpoint as well. Now my brain surgeon is having issues in his marriage. Now he's not having no sex, or she, right? They're not having no sex, and now I got to deal with a stressed out brain surgeon who's struck. Nah, my brain surgeon, I'm not praying never have brain surgery, but you get what I'm saying. We need our medical professionals to definitely, even though most of them have a high income, and in theory they should be able to pay it off. So most of them could if they just continue to live for a couple of years in the situation they were in before, they had this income. That would be a case where I'm like, okay. And the other thing is, if we did a mass forgiveness, it would be just for bachelor degrees. Your master's and doctorate should not get forgiven. The main thing when we talk about student loan forgiveness in mass for everybody is that, in short, it's predatory because not everybody, but most people were under the age of 18 when they applied for this debt. And so now we're saying we have minors who were involved in the situation. And so now the government needs to step in. But that's just for bachelors. Unless you're in one of these situations where, you graduated high school extremely early, and so you got your master's and or doctorate before you turned 18, which in this case, you definitely shouldn't get your student loans forgiven because you are highly intelligent. For your master's and doctorate, you have a college degree and you have debt. And now for some reason you want us to say who, what, where, when, why, and how to give you some type of leniency on, you didn't know you had your bachelor's degree debt. I know you went and got your master's and or doctor, so you still have to make those payments. But that's the one thing. Shout out to the people who set themselves up. I'm going to keep going to school. I'm going to make my payment. You're going to keep taking out more debt. Now you're going to have more debt to pay. You got a master's and or doctorate. You should be some type of educated. So you should have some type of understanding when it comes to how this student loan situation works. However, now I think about it, a lot of people get a master's and doctorate. They're not in the STEM related fields. And so they probably actually don't have a good grasp on just math in general, let alone data statistics. So not that you get a pass, but it makes sense. Your ass actually probably doesn't do too well in math. And so now I can see what you're actually complaining about. Hey, I need my student loans for getting new student. You know, you got a degree in, as they say, left-handed puppetry. I'm not going to mention, a degree so I don't get in trouble about saying a particular degree field. But you got a degree in something that is never even going to earn you what you're kicking out in a single year, should I say. You might earn it at some point in time, over the course of your life, but you're not going to earn this in 1 year. If at no point in time you will earn in 1 year, or have the potential, should I say, to earn in 1 year what you're paying for your degree, you should not get a degree bump if you're going to make it in 5 years, whatever. This is just general number I'm saying because of the degree field I'm in. But if you're in a situation where at no point in time you will make this amount of money in a year you're paying for this degree, what makes you continue to go into that field and take out debt for it? You want to pay cash, somebody else paying for it? Cool. Do what you want with your money. But the student loan debt from the federal government is taxpayer money. All right. So now we all get an opinion about it. Don't get me started when people say you don't have an opinion on certain things out here and they want our elected officials to make a decision. Then you say, hey, you don't get an opinion because this, that, and third. It's like, wait, you got my elected senator, congressman, or woman, whoever it is, spending their time on this. I get to say so. That's my right to vote. We won't get to talk about how that's racist when they say, hey, you don't get an opinion on this, and you're not in this situation. How are you going to tell me I don't get an opinion? And this is at the federal level, right? People talk about that sometimes, right? With men, men should have a say-so. How is a white person going to tell me I don't have a say-so on abortion? That's racist. I'm black. This is my right to vote. You got my senator and my congressperson spending time on this. I get a say-so on this now. Now, if you want to do it at your state level, and it's not the state of Maryland where I live at, that's cool. I don't get no say-so. You kick up to the federal level, I get an opinion on all issues. Now, whether I can go, my opinion is another thing, but I got to just go whoever your senators are, senators, and your congressperson is for your district. You can contact them or whoever you're supposed to contact, whoever, because they're probably not answering that email. You can contact them and say, hey, I don't like this when it comes to student loans, or I don't like this when it comes to abortion, whatever the issue is. Then people are gonna say you're not allowed to have an opinion. Nuh-uh, not the federal level. I don't know who lied and told y'all that. And yes, I said when if a white person said it's a black person, I'm gonna tell that's racist. So you're suppressing my right to vote? Go on, have a conversation. All right, y'all. End of the episode. Look, Money Mindset, season 1, episode 1. I told y'all we're talking about these student loans. I told y'all, even though this is still the same thing as Walk Wednesdays, the episodes, even though I had Jordan flu, Jordan did crazy in this flu game, LeBron still go. Anyways, even though, LeBron got some more stuff done, Kareem still to go. Anyways, I told y'all we coming in with that heat. Episodes might end up being longer, but I'm going to start breaking them down and releasing more frequently as far as on YouTube. And then on top of that, I'm going to be recording more. And so information get out to you guys quicker as well. All right. But before we wrap up, you know what to do. If you ain't comment, like, share, subscribe, you watch the whole video and didn't comment, you watch the whole video and didn't like, you watch the whole video and didn't subscribe, you watch the whole video and didn't do nothing, you just watch the whole video and ran up, the watch time. I appreciate that. But comment, like, share, and subscribe. Shout out to the YouTube algorithm. Leave those rating reviews on the podcast platforms as well. All right, y'all. Jordan, as well as myself, our information can be found in the description. All right. That's it, y'all. I'm going to let y'all get out of here. Remember to save more and say less. Keep making better your best. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.